sure if you were here last week. I know Baman was, but the other two people here. Just give a quick overview so we can cover we can have some context. This series of seminars we covered Mexico first, then South America, now Central America. Uh, Again, it's considered a whole region as Latin America, but they have differences. Here, in the case of Central America, it's a smaller portion than South America. It's 1/7 of the U.S. U.S. Population. They have only
You got to
50.
just send me notes or just call my phone later. Okay, bye.
Is everything okay? Sorry about that. Okay, so basically, 53 million inhabitants. They have a GDP of $362 billion. So it's a small region. And we're covering 7 different countries from Belize to Panama, all the way down. And this is the region that is actually between Mexico and Colombia. So it's hard to access. We talked about it, the last seminar. But there are opportunities for trade, mainly in 3 countries that I'll define in a bit. Costa Rica has a stronger economy, growing middle class. They like high quality products and branded food products. Their GDP per capita is bigger, is higher, sorry. They're more, again, developed in general. Guatemala is the largest, a growing food service, and there's preference for US brands, but they have a large population, but their GDP per capita is lower. However, there are regions and there are segments of the population that are keen to high value products. So it's not that you have a central, in Central America, you have poor people or middle class. You have contrasts, just as you have in every country in Latin America. But again, Costa Rica is one of them. Guatemala is one of them. Actually, we got a trade deal for beer, premium beer from Guatemala. Salvador is increasing urbanization. They have, the income is rising, and also they have now the largest retail chain in all Central and South America, in El Salvador, called Grupo Calleja. So they acquired a retailer in Colombia, and in both countries they have over 60% of the market. So that could be interesting in the medium term. Honduras, Nicaragua, they're developing and growing, and Panama, logistics hub. It's a good market, especially with premium products and organics. That's where we have seen the growth. Here you can find different retailers in different countries. They are not, even Walmart. Walmart may have some consolidation in Costa Rica. That's where their hub is. But in general, you have a local player, and you may have an international player like Walmart or PriceSmart, which is affiliated to Costco in some way. It's not the same company, but the stores look the same, and the products are similar. So they carry Kirkland products too. So they're the ones that carry most of the large portfolios, but you will still have local players in each country. In Costa Rica, you'll have Automercado. In Guatemala, you have País, and then you have others. Panama, they have Ray, Super 99, as we discussed before. They are modernizing, and Rivas Smith, they are a bit, they're between a hypermarket and a Costco as well. So again, the retailers there are different, and there is the custom, or there's the concept in the US that if you sell direct to retail, you will do better. And that is not the case in Latin America in general, because the importers usually carry the risk, the inventory, and the cost, the associated cost or trade terms that you can have with each retailer in each country. Now, moving forward, and we talked briefly about this last time, how the buyers, what's characteristic for each country in the 3 main markets that we covered. And I think you've met some of these buyers, especially Costa Rican buyers. We took them on a trade mission recently, going to the US. But Guatemalans, they're more traditional. They like traditional food. They are looking for natural ingredients. But the biggest characteristic is that they look for value for money. They're more price sensitive than other countries in Guatemala. So that's something that you have to consider. And if they have a cheaper and local option, probably they will go for it. And if you sell to these people, you have to go with an value and also, you know, something more than what they can get at the store. At some point, the quality or the history of the product is not as relevant. The origin is not relevant, but they want to know and understand why would they pay what they're paying for your product, or why are they paying more for your products. So the value equation has to be very clear for you and for the buyer when you meet them. And we are working on having more contact with U.S. companies by sending more Latin American buyers and Central American buyers to the trade missions that we do. Costa Rican buyers, they're more evolved. The the country itself is a bit more evolved trade-wise. They're health conscious, one of the most health conscious countries in Central America, and I believe in Latin America. I believe they're the third largest, highest food consumption country in the region. But they are working on sustainability. They have traditionally had a large international hub, industrial hub. Before they had Intel, now they have, I think, HP is headquartered there. So that draws a lot of executives that live in Costa Rica, and they carry this, expat community. So they're looking for more tastes international. They have traveled more, and the tourism there, even though it's mostly American and some European, they are opening to these international tastes and trying to get new products. Probably that's something that could be interesting for you guys, especially in food service. And they are looking for, even though they have a value equation there, they're looking for high quality products. So here, as I said before, Guatemala is more price sensitive. Here they're more quality focused. So still they will look for some value into this. And again, one of the points here is that even though they're all Latin American and most of them speak Spanish, in Latin America, with the exception of French Guyana and Brazil, they're different. Their countries, even though they could be smaller, they have differences that have to be very clear. And U.S. international sales export managers have to understand that there are differences. And finally, the Panamanian buyers, they have different tastes. Being a logistics hub, they have a lot of influences from many places. There's a joke that in Central America, the traditional dish will be rice and beans, but they just changed the name. But here it is different. You have different tastes. You have a lot of influence, from Cuban, Colombian, even American cuisine. So they have different tastes there. And that also reflects on their consumption patterns. They are looking for convenience foods and beverages, but they also have premium retail stores. And actually, they have an organic chain there that started 6, 7 years ago and actually is growing. So you see that segment between the day-to-day purchasing and you see the premium things that they want to acquire. With the influence that they had from the US for many years until 1999, where the US released the canal, and the presence from the US, slowly reduced. Uh, they're open to new products. Still, the major brands or the main products are still prevalent and they're well known in this country. And here, they're not as sensitive as, they're price sensitive, but more when it fluctuates. Let's remember that Panama has a dollar-based economy, but their inflation can change. So even though they're dollars, the value of what you can get in Panama for $1 is different to what you can get in the US. So here is something that you need to understand, especially in inflation. So if you want to check on performance measures on how the country is doing, here in Guatemala would be inflation. Costa Rica, growth, economic growth, but Panama will be inflation as well, just as in Guatemala, but with other point of view. Now, moving forward, and just a bit on how to do promotions in Central America. This is a more basic market. They're not as electronic or digitally uh, developed as other regions. So still print media, newspapers and others will be relevant. You know, the weekly flyer in retail will be relevant. The trade shows, oh, sorry, the road shows that food service importers will do in this region also will be important where they invite chefs and other professionals. That is important. So again, it's more basic. It's not that they know the product or they can look for it online. It helps, but still they continue using billboards. They do media events. Some things that we can recommend is that you get in contact with the USDA or the Department of Agriculture or the Agricultural Trade Office. They have many events and they are constantly looking for sponsorship from US products. And they invite trade members. So the buyers or the importers are what they know each other because all the commodity groups or the state regional trade groups as WUSARA will do missions to the US or will bring groups down to the countries. So they all know each other. You know, over time they have traveled or met in an event, so these PR events from the embassy could be interesting. And finally, they are still using demos and POS materials. That is something that has to be coordinated with your importer or the retailer that you're working with. In average, demo will cost about $50 per day. So if you consider a monthly plan for 3 days a week, 10 stores, then we're talking about 400, like about $2,000, I think, if my math is not wrong. And digital marketing channels are still, are evolving, but they're not there, not as in the US. You may have influencers, Instagram personalities, TikTok is there too, but it's more on the casual, funny type of thing. So the influencers that actually do this professionally, as in the US or Brazil or Mexico, are not there yet. They're still figuring out how to charge or how to measure their impact using brands. So you will find things that are irregular when using influencers. So that's something that we don't recommend. What we do recommend is that you have a Spanish section in your Facebook page, company's Facebook page or Instagram, or a link to a Spanish portion of your website. Blogs, marketing, articles and videos. Also use a local provider. If you work with a US agency, it will be very expensive because they will subcontract a local agency here. So you need to be very careful here so you're efficient. We talked about influencer, email marketing, it's still used, and also search engine optimization or Google Ads that can improve the website visibility, especially using Google. There are not many regulations, or not as many as you may have in Europe or in the US, about Google or using other search engine. But still, it's cheaper. And what you would invest in digital media in the US probably will be 1/3 of what you pay in Central America. Now, one thing is SMS is still used. There are programs that allow you to make SMS campaigns, and that works more on the more basic industries like produce. I'm not sure if we have any produce company here, but this will work. If you are more into the retail or food service, there are mobile apps for delivery. Actually, some food service companies are working more on delivery apps. So they have Rappi, or they have they have Corner Shop. I think it's shut down, but you can do that. And one of the things actually we detected that Cisco, the food service operator in the US, Cisco, well, they have physical stores in Panama, and they are starting to work with delivery apps. And then you can go with the others that are more for younger audiences, like video marketing. One interesting thing is that you can partner locally with local businesses. So if your product complements other product, that's something that you can work on. We saw a U.S. watermelon company working with a pepper called Tajin, which is Mexican, but they have a promotion in Costa Rica. So that what happened is that Tajin had the manpower for conducting the promotions, and then the watermelon people just provided POS and obviously, compensated with some of the changes. It's funny because Tajin thought of watermelon as a mean to promote their product, and watermelons thought the same of Tajin. And analytics, which is big and hard. So where is the growth coming in these countries? Mostly supermarket, convenience stores, and traditional. And I left out one that is food service. The tourism in the region is growing, but it's not that the resorts will buy direct from the supplier. And that's something that we've heard many times. I want to meet with the resorts. That's fine. But you need to find a food service specific importer that will service those hotels or resorts. Otherwise, you will split your efforts into 10, 15, not only on the commercial part, but also on the logistical part and in the inventory part. So that will be more expense for you. So basically, we recommend that you find a hub, you find somebody that can manage the category for you, and then this person in turn can sell to hospitality, but also can eventually sell to retail. So you have one-stop shop. So I'll make a quick pause here because I'm going very fast. And I want to just probably just touch base to see if there's anything that you want to talk about or discuss here. Anybody, any questions so far? Okay, we have one question here, and it's I cannot see it. I don't know why I cannot see it. Oh, here it is. Give me a second. Kaza, can you read it, please?
Yes, I can.
I cannot read it.
So the first one is from Bauman. Which market has more developed desert industry? I wonder if he means dessert. Which market has more dessert industry? Any virtual visit opportunities in these markets?
I would say Panama because of the food service, all the restaurants that they have, the kind of the purchasing power, and how they are organized. It's a more centralized country. So I would say probably Panama on that. Second, I would count Costa Rica, and third, I would count Guatemala. So yeah, those would be the ones that I would consider. Now, Panama, as they were influenced by the US, they may have products that are similar to what you have to offer now. So basically, you will need to, again, find this value option. But I think, Panama would be a good point to start. And I need to go back and find the contact for Pete Olson, who is the ATO, but I think he would be a good contact to start talking to.
And there was a second part to his question. Are there any virtual visit opportunities in these markets?
No, unfortunately, that was a good thing that we learned to do in pandemic, but it's something that is not used in general anymore. You can have one or two virtual, events or consultations, but they're not really popular anymore. I mean, probably, either, the ATO could set up a virtual meeting, but it probably will be not as effective. You may need to find them or travel. In your case, Baman, I know where you're coming from, but basically, I think we can inform you more on the inbound trade missions and bring the buyers to your location so you can have this one direct contact. Because, like, again, I'm sorry, but the virtual meetings overall, and it's not only us, in general, they just collapsed after pandemic. People just wanted to see each other face to face.
All right. And the next question is from Tony. He's asking, what about import tariffs for US suppliers? Is the route to market through ocean containers? And is there one distributor that handles all the countries and has a warehouse in Florida or Texas?
That's a very good question. There are brokers in Florida mostly, and they service the region in general. We have seen many, Tropical Foods is one of them. They're based in Miami, I think. But yeah, there are consolidators on the US side. They take the products there and then they source all the region, but from the Caribbean side, not from the Pacific. So that would be a good option to talk to one of these brokers. And what we recommended the last time is that most of them go to the Latin America food, uh, America's trade, what is it? America's Food and Beverage Trade Show, which is, I believe, in October. Actually, I have it in one of the slides at the end, but I can give you the information and the link to it. But I think that would be one good option too. And going back to Bauman's question, trying to centralize all these countries into one would be going to this trade show. What happens in this America's Food and Beverage Show is that they have a morning session where you pay, I think it was like $300, $400, and they set up meetings with importers and buyers from all the region. And also all the agricultural trade offices in the region have delegations going to that show. So I think that would be a good option to start. And again, be more efficient trying to cover this region than trying to go country per country, country by country. Mhm. So
All
are you
right.
still?
Bauman asked if there's any inbound events or buyers coming to the USA. I sent over what we have left for the 2024 year.
Mhm.
We're still building out 2025, but I don't know if you had an answer to that
We
yet.
Yeah, actually, we are reviewing the trade missions going to the to in 2025. I'm pretty sure we're gonna visit your area. I think we're planning to go to California. Not sure if we're going to do in Washington State or Oregon, but yeah, we're trying to cover the overall region. And on our side, actually, we're reinforcing the Latin American portion. So instead of just bringing Mexican buyers, we will focus on bringing more Central and South American buyers to the mix. So we bring six buyers. We expect to have half of them from Central and South America, and probably half of them from Mexico. But we don't have anything in the short term, Baman. We did a mission. I think you attended to that one less than a month ago. But yeah, unfortunately, going up, it's going to be until after the summer of 2025, because we have the ANTAD trade show, which is the National Retailers Association trade show in March of 2025 in Guadalajara, Mexico. And from there, we have the trade mission coming down to Mexico in December, but it's more traveling, it's outbound coming down than going upwards to you. And I don't know where's the. I think that's
Yeah, I'm
it.
not seeing any other questions unless
Good.
we have some time.
No, actually, I'm halfway. So
Oh, right. Yeah.
yeah. So basically, and this is something that again, I'll probably go into details. This is a model that most of you have seen if you've done one of our seminars before. This is something that we registered many years ago, and we have been able to test it over and over. And basically, what we find is that usually the new exporter tries to go all the way back, get the order here, make the sale, and then understand the market. We have seen that many, many times. So we try to give you, a different approach that will be more efficient. Will take more time, but will be more efficient here. So basically, understand the market first, set priorities, and then set the first contact. So here's giving you, and I think I talked about it last week. It's giving you more tips on how to do it. Uh, we always say, study the market, but we never give a checklist on how to do it. So here is a checklist. Basically, we want you to have patience, but understand the business culture in each country. And why I say each country, because again, some people told me, oh, I've been to Mexico many times. Well, where? I've been to Cancun. Nice. Do you know any other country? No, but it's just the same, and it's not. So that's the first problem that we see with a new to exporters, that they assume that the region is just the same because in the map it looks similar and it's in the same region, but it's, I mean, we're talking about, 15, 20,000 miles of difference between one country, from one country to the other, from north to south. Again, Latin America is, I would say, about 20 countries, and each country is different. I mean, I wouldn't say that the US is the same as Canada or as Mexico. We're very different, and so are these countries. So basically, this is a checklist. This is not printable, but basically you can have, especially the first 3 or 4 points. Get reference from USARA. We can help you with
Oh, hi,
reference.
Marco.
I always, yes.
We cannot see your presentation.
Oh, sorry about that. Let me see what happened. Oh, I was not sharing. I don't know why. Does it work now?
Yes, thank you.
No, sorry about that. Okay, so anyway, I was talking about this model. The patients understand the business culture, set the contact, get the deal, and follow up. And here it says compromise. Probably we need to change the word, but it's basically just find a better deal for both companies. But here is what I was talking about the patience and commitment to this market. We can help you with reference information, but I keep saying that we don't recommend, just getting buyers lists, because they're just like a phone book and it's not worth your time. And every time after a seminar, I get an inquiry, for buyers lists. So we can do general, but it's hard because we cannot just bring them out of the blue. And again, at some point, if people just start shooting emails, we get the calls from the buyers, who wrote me, I don't know them. So just be careful with that. Look up for these GAIN reports, this Global Access Information Network from USDA. They have very good reports, and they're issued or they're done by the by the staff in the markets. So they will have the most up-to-date information, and they may have the contact information and some contacts or some buyers that are there. But please note that there are 50 states, and the Latin American market is a hot market for the US and has been for the past 6 or 7 years. So I was talking to an importer from Colombia, and he told me that he receives about 40 emails a month from companies from the US, and he doesn't know who they are or what they sell. So most of the times he will just pass the emails, but the ones that he remembers knowing or meeting at the trade mission, he will consider those. But again, it's hard. It's more the contact. Understanding market size, tariffs, requirements, and competition. And I don't think if I covered the tariff question before, but in general, Central America is zero tariff because there's a free trade agreement called CAFTA, Central America Free Trade Agreement. Again, it's specific tariffs could apply for certain items, especially the high sensitive markets, products that are produced in this market. Maybe potatoes or onions or corn may have tariff or non-tariff barriers. So that's something that needs to be checked. And if your product is sensitive or not. But again, contacting the agricultural trade offices is important, and we can provide that contact with them. Again, adapt to this market. The market unfortunately will not adapt to you. So personal relationships in Latin America in general are important, just as they are in the US. And I've been talking about this many, many times. Yes, there can be remote, there can be remote communication, but they need to have a context. They need to know where you're coming from. And again, it's not 100%, it doesn't happen 100% of the times, but in general, it does. So that's something that Latin Americans in general are polite. But again, you need to understand the differences between a Mexican, a Colombian, and a Costa Rican. They have different ways of managing businesses. Mexicans will apologize for everything. That's what we do. That's our culture. But on the other side, you have Colombians who will be more straightforward, will be very nice, but can come out as aggressive when they're really, really, they're straight shooters. Same with Brazilians. They will be interested in these personal meetings. So again, make a strategy. Probably it won't be fast, but it can be worth your time. Just start working on this, making one or two calls, getting introductions, use the embassy. And again, if there's anything particular that, can or cannot be done, like traveling, well, provide that context as well. And probably, the embassy or other entities can assist you with that. They require a lot of follow-up. Again, the emails usually are constant, and we saw that with a company in Washington State 2 weeks ago. They told us, they send an email every Monday, and they get replied every month. So and actually they just listed the product, but again, it takes a lot of time. The speed here and the business etiquette is here. Is different. Latin Americans may not give a straight no for an answer, and that happens more in Mexico, some in Costa Rica, but it happens in general. So you need to read between the lines where a maybe is a yes or a maybe is a no. And you cannot push them because you say, "Oh, tell me in my face, what do you want?" They will not tell you. It's again, it's part of the culture. And again, the personal relationship established, a long business relationship will follow. So again, understand this business culture. Actually, I've talked about this, but CIA, the CIA, they have a good document. They have good business documents on how to make business in each country. So you want to look that up. Now, once you define the market and your strategy, then decide what is the sales or commercial model that fit your products. Again, could be different than in the US. And look for references. We can help you with that, or we can talk to the ATO, just references on who is good or who is bad. We have contacted companies and they have been very good. And at some point they've had issues with a specific company. So we can give you information, but we ask you to do your due diligence because we cannot sponsor or be responsible for the business deals that you do with any company. But be careful. That happened during pandemic. We had 2 cases in pandemic. Fortunately, they were resolved, but it can happen from time to time. But again, we can give you references, but we cannot endorse anybody. And how do you want to work? You want to have an importer, distributor in market, will manage your product, will request exclusivity. They tend to do that, and we've heard that many times. They want exclusivity, and the exporter don't want to give exclusivity. Why? Because the exporter wants to level up the market and try to get as many players as they can in the market. But the importer will, work the product, invest in the product, so they want to get some profit and some benefits or some benefits out of that. So that's something that you need to be very clear. Usually, we have seen that it's from 6 months to a year to have exclusivity, and maybe a bonus or something that can be added to the deal during the negotiation. And the sales agent, an in-country representative, it's cheaper. Those are harder to find. We have been asked many times if we know of a broker. Unfortunately, these markets develop differently than in the US. So some people, they have been brokers for many years. Here, be clear that the economies and the markets develop differently, and they developed in the past 20, 25 years. However, the sales agents or brokers are useful. You just need to be very clear on what type of sales agent you have, because you may have somebody that will go and do the customer service and will sell on your behalf, or just a broker that will be asked for products and will try to find them anyway. So it depends on who the relationship relies on the seller perspective, which is what we recommend, that you find somebody that can have some commission. You need to, again, make due diligence. So, sales people are very good talkers and they're charming. And I remember a gentleman in Querétaro that we recommended to a company. Great, charming. He didn't deliver at all. So just make sure that you find somebody that can actually sell for you. Otherwise, they'll keep you in their portfolio, but they will not sell a thing and you will only lose time. The benefit with them is that you can have a smaller retainer, and then a sales commission. Direct to retail is something that we have seen many times being asked by US companies. I want to sell direct to retail. Just uh, uh, present me retailers. That doesn't work in general. It may work with high value or high volume categories, but in general, it doesn't really work unless the retailer is trying to boost or revamp their imported product line. Why? Because it's easier for them to get it from an importer. They don't have to carry the risk, the cost, or the trade terms, which can be difficult or harsher in Latin America. Again, it's different. In the US, you have some discounts, but in Latin America, as Walmart came in the 90s, they figured out that they can charge the suppliers to finance their logistics and their staff in the store. So they will deduct from 12 to 16% from products. So that's something that can affect your cost structure. So it's better that you sell to an importer, so the importer can add that to their cost and basically manage it directly with the retailer, and also carry the inventory, the risk, and all that. So now there are some marketing tools that we recommend you do. Again, this is something that you can have prepared and work with your retailer or your buyer. First, printed information and a marketing plan that could cover one or many of this. If you are exporting to this market, you may have to invest from 10 to 15% in marketing costs. So your brand can grab a bite in this market. Otherwise, you have the risk of just coming in and out. So to grab a bite is that, consumers know you, or influencers or people, key members know you, and you can ensure repurchase. So this could be, a discount, an export's price. Again, this is not something that this is something that you need to decide in your structure. Sampling, product demonstrations, trade shows, or merchandising staff that can put the product on shelves so the consumer can find them. Some of these activities could be covered by the branded program. Not all of them, but please, we recommend you that you get the training from USARA on what applies and what not, because in a nutshell, you cannot do anything that can affect the price directly to the buyer. Other marketing efforts could be covered, but we recommend that you apply for the branded program and see what's feasible for you. Be faster. Also, we have always talked about the landed cost. First off is that you need to understand how much will the product cost when it gets to the port. Taxes and tariffs, importing maneuvers, customs agents, inland freight. That is something that you can understand, in the first conversations with your prospect importer. So they can tell you, how much would what the freight cost, and how much your product is. If your product is 50 cents X works out of your facility, how much would it be to have it delivered to point A, B, or C at the port of destination, which is pretty much the landed cost. As somebody asked before, CAFTA is 0% tariff in most cases, but then you need to find the margins that go to each one of the stages in the chain. So if you have a sales representative, it can be from 3% to 10%. 10% would be too high, would be too high value or high volume products. But we have seen that goes from 1.5 to 3% as a sales representative commission. Then if it goes to the importer distributor, they can charge from 15 to 25% of margin. And then the retailer could charge from 20 to 30% of margin, depending on the retailer. So just with that, you will have your product in landed cost from $1 arriving to the country to $1.50 getting to consumer. So that's a 50% increase from border to consumer, from port to consumer. And then if you add how much it costs to ship your product there, it could be another count. We usually consider that the retail price in the US is, in Central America, Mexico and Central America, is about twice of what you sell in retail. So with that, you also need to consider the competition. So you may have very good products, and sometimes if the value proposal is not there, the price will be the driver for the purchase in these markets. We'll send you this, by the way. And develop the relationship. We've been talking about this. And one of the things that we mentioned that the email and these casual contacts are not really efficient or successful, is because Latin Americans are very status conscious. So they like to feel important. They like to know that you took the time to meet with them, that you actually consider them more your equal than just another email. So that happens all across the board. Make sure that you're speaking to the owner or purchasing manager. So again, the status is important in Central America and all throughout Latin America. And also on their turn, they will feel comfortable when they talk with the decision maker. If you're contacting by phone, send them email information. Make sure that they speak English or have somebody speaking Spanish to do the translation. Make the appointment in advance and confirm. There's a concept that Central America is very informal, and they can take 2 hours, and we take naps and all that. That's not true. I mean, we need to understand better the market, how it is now. Even the countries, the markets in general have changed dramatically. And I'm based in Mexico, but I can see the differences. And what I learned from Colombia 10 years ago is completely different to what I see now. Make sure that you get it. We recommend that you do the inbound missions first, that is bringing the buyers to you, and then have a follow-up with a plan so you can do the outbound and visit these countries. So we recommend doing this. Unfortunately, we're not planning to do an outbound trade mission to Central America in the near future, but we'll keep you posted on any event on that. And phone conversation, here's again just a checklist on how to do the conversation. A phone conversation is less than 10 minutes. Usually they will tell you they don't have time, but if you tell them in advance, I need 10 minutes of your time, then they will focus on you. And here's the checklist on how to make a call, which is roughly business standard, just so you can have it. And then the meeting, again, there's a perception that the buyers will have time. Latin America is more relaxed. Again, the movies didn't help, or the cartoons didn't help, but here are very efficient. You'll have a lot of people, professionals, who may have been educated in the U.S. or not, but basically, make sure that you have this cultural difference between between Central America and the U.S. because they're not as straightforward as the Americans, but they are efficient. So again, just make sure that you read the room and you are able to do these meetings with them. And again, we're running out of time. Get the process. This is actually, well, this is for Mexico, but it applies. If you take the lower part, what you need here, in general, it applies. It's not Mexican health, but it's a country in turn, getting the certificates, labeling. The registration certificates, sales certificates, and the labeling process are the most important and the most time-consuming phases of the process, and they are mostly required for consumer products. Some countries require food service registration as well. I think Panama and Dominican Republic. But again, it's general. Fortunately, commercial codes and international trade has made things to be in general similar, but you need to find the specific regulations for each country before you get things shipped there. Now, we talked about infrastructure, and I've been talking about infrastructure for the last couple of seminars, how strong it is. Well, basically, road infrastructure is limited, but it could be higher, and it's surprising, that well, Panama, it's kind of obvious, with all the trade that happens in that country that is well developed in roads. But for instance, Salvador is better than Brazil. Honduras, Guatemala are better than Chile, and Nicaragua is better than Colombia. So in general, you have good infrastructure. The main issue here is the security from ports to warehouse, but that's something that your importer will take care of, and that's why it's important to have insurance in your shipments when you do it. Again, the question before is relevant because you can consolidate. It's better to consolidate because some of these markets will not have the critical mass to have a full container of products if your products is on the premium side. So this consolidation option could be interesting to all of you. There are ports in the Pacific. They're listed there, but again, it's volume. It's a 20-foot container or a 40-foot container or consolidated. If you consolidate it, what categories? If it's refrigerated or is it shelf stable? So again, those are nuances that you need to consider because the other option is to ship here, as you mentioned before, Galveston or Florida, and then they can ship, or there could be brokers that can send your products there. Credit, be careful. We always say, get paid in advance, and we ask you to continue asking for payment in advance. The main issues that we've seen, for 18, 20 years between exporters and importers is not communication, is payment. So just continue getting payment in advance until you're really, really sure that you have a very strong and solid relationship with your buyer. So basically, that's what we have. This is the information that I mentioned before. We have the America's Food and Beverage Show in September. There's the link. Last time I checked, they still have spaces available. And as I mentioned, the agricultural trade offices from Panama, Costa Rica, Mexico, and I believe Dominican are sending delegations of buyers to this show, so that this could be a good option for you. And also we have the Latin America Outbound Trade Mission from the 3rd to the 6th of December with WUSARA, where we're bringing 16 U.S. companies to meet with Mexican, Central American, and regional buyers from Mexico in Mexico City and Monterrey in early December. So we made it. We made it happen. So I don't know if you have any questions. We still have some time. So this was the presentation.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to chime in. But while I have the space, I'm going to follow up with an email with Marco's presentation. There was a lot of good visual slides in there. So I definitely want to make sure I get that out to you guys. And then the recording will be up at the end of the day. Looks like it's just saying thank you. And then Marco's final presentation with us, wrapping up his whole series, is on the 25th of this month, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. So thank you so much for all the time and expertise you've shared with us. We're gonna miss you. And if there's any any recordings that you might have missed at the beginning of this series, they're all on the website as well. Oh, looks like we got a question.
Yes, I cannot read it, but it talks about labeling, I think.
Tony asked, does each country require different labels, or can one label work?
No, they have different. I mean, they're in general they're the same, but the regulations are they have slight differences. What happens in general is that the importer in each country will take care of the labeling. So they put a sticker in the back. And what is happening in all Latin America is that we are implementing some. They're like black octagons where you put excess sugar, excess saturated fat, added sodium. That's a Chilean initiative. Mexico already implemented it, and I know Costa Rica and Colombia already implemented it. So the labeling is different in each country. Some of them are more relaxed than others. Panama, I think, is more relaxed. But yeah, you need to check with your import prospect how to manage it. We don't recommend to do runs of a specific, labels or packaging until you have the product in market and you are consolidated. It's better to place the stickers but again, it varies from country to country. Sure, if you were here last week, I know Baman was, but the other two people here, just